Okay.
Hi, hello everybody. It's Michelle with the Michelle Got Goals podcast. And this week I have Charlotte Burley, a creative producer, with me to talk about the journey that we call entrepreneurship. As you know, the Michelle Got Goals podcast is all about our goals and how we work on our entrepreneurship goals. And today I have a friend with me who has been working and meeting goals for years. So I thought she would be a perfect fit to talk a little bit about her journey. And because she has such a great resume, I'm going to let her do her introduction herself, because I don't know if I would do it any justice. So, Charlotte, take it away.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I think this is a great podcast. It's very needed. Michelle got goals. So yes, we all have goals. And sometimes it's just hard to just even think about how to get it out of our head and just out there. So I'll give you a little bit of history from me. I'm like most people, I come from a small town. And when you live in a small town, you grow up in a small town, you think there's really no options. And so I moved to a bigger city, New York City. And when I saw all the options that was kind of the encouragement that I had. But if you are in a small town and you feel like you can't get out, my advice is going to be good, no matter if you're in a small town or a big town. So my journey took me to New York City, and then I worked for the Sci-Fi Channel,
Okay.
NBC, and I worked my way up from, the receptionist to a senior writer producer. And as I was working for them, I went freelance and I worked for Spike TV, Comedy Central, Lifetime. And being a Black female, I was in a white male dominated industry. And no matter how successful I got, that was always an issue that they would never really want to give me my just due. So eventually that gave me the courage to say, well, you could do this on your own. And so then I did a pilot on a different type of music show, because at this time, BET was still doing music video shows. And they needed another way. I thought that they needed another way to show music videos, especially slow jam music videos, because they had kind of got away from it. So long story short, I created a pilot where I talked to celebrities, and in between our celebrity chats, I would show slow jam music videos. So the way I did the pilot, I did it to where it could air literally on the network. And I got all of that training from being a producer on NBC for the Sci-Fi Channel. So a piece of advice, if you are looking to do something, if you want to own it, if you don't know everything, try to get a regular job in that industry to get your training. It would be like paid training, because then you can take the skills and you can take everything you learn into your own. So I would say, by me being able to do the pilot so well that when I sent it to BET, the next day they wanted it.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was greenlit within 24 hours because I understood, I guess, the assignment. I understood the assignment because I had a background in television and promos. I had to tell a story in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 90 seconds. So if you can tell the story in that short time, then you can do a pilot. So again, that's just some advice. If you can get a job in what you eventually want to do, I would say try that first. Don't just get a job to make money. Try to get a job that's kind of training you for your entrepreneurial dream or your goal.
So just so I understand, you were not trained to be a producer. You didn't go to school to be a creative. So you were in a small town, and then you went to a bigger city called New York City. It's so funny to me, like a bigger city. Yes, it's a real big city.
The Big Apple.
Right. And you just got yourself a job in a field that you were interested in, and you just worked yourself up.
Yeah, because I went to school for theater. So I was,
Okay.
going to New York to be an actress.
Oh, okay.
And so, my acting took me to production, and I wind up loving behind the scenes.
Okay.
And so the funny story is when I got the talk show for BET, it was called The Turn On. And I put myself in the pilot to save money as the executive producer. So when we were getting down to the contracts and getting to the very end, I kept asking, okay, well, who's going to be the host? I'm assuming they're going to give me one of those video vixens to be the host of the show. And they were like, oh, you're the host. And I'm like,
Okay.
wait, I'm the executive producer. I wasn't, looking to be the host. They was like, oh, well, you did such a great job, and you're refreshing. You're something they've never seen. So that's how I kind of got in front of the camera. And so that kind of started my entrepreneurial spirit as far as, okay, if you just think about it, put it on paper, plan it out, and execute it, you can do it. And so then the next thing was my book. So in the midst of pitching other shows for other networks and a movie, I wind up meeting, another producer, and together we were out with two other females, and we were all drinking, and we were all telling each other stories. And it was about the single life. But at that time, I wasn't single. I was happily engaged. So I said this would make for a good book because you had so many different perspectives.
Mhm.
Well, the next day, two of us sobered up and was like, yeah, we think this would work. And so what I've learned with entrepreneurship or just being a creative and producing is if you really think it and put it on paper and execute it, it can come to life. But you have to do that process. It has to be in the mind first. You have to really visualize it and see it, and then put what you have here onto paper and then execute it. So that's my biggest advice, is to go through that process. Now, when you put it on paper, I'm going to share some hindsight because that's my thing now. So
Okay.
I like to share hindsight to help foresight. When you put it on paper, it's very easy to start and to create and to execute. The main thing that a lot of us entrepreneurs, and I'm still learning this and I'm getting better at it, is how to maintain it.
Mhm.
Because you can get a great idea, get it out there and start, but how do you maintain it for longevity? So think of that process and that plan, and don't always think of money. Money is very good because if you can't do it yourself, you can hire other people to do it. But if you don't have the money, and if you think about the maintenance of what you're going to do and the longevity of that, think how long can you yourself do it before you could, and while you're thinking about how much you are going to do yourself hands-on, think about how much money you can save while you're doing it. How much can you save so that at a certain time, let's say you could do it for 2 years. If you save enough money in 2 years, can you hire that first assistant to help you for the longevity? So that's the biggest takeaway I would give anybody starting anything. The maintenance is very important.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Okay. And so now my journey is YouTube channel, because after I did the BET, my ego, this is another thing, entrepreneurs, we all have the ego. So my ego got the best of me because I didn't do enough research on YouTube at the time. And I felt, oh, I could just start my own network. So I started the TOS network.
Mhm.
And instead of taking my ideas and putting them onto YouTube, because YouTube has a built-in audience,
Right.
I just assumed my BET audience would come over to this network.
And it did not.
So it didn't cross over like it would have had I been on YouTube, because YouTube has a built-in audience and it's a diverse audience.
Right.
So I limited myself. But that's a hindsight. So people, do your research. Think about the technology today. Don't assume that it's not going to do something for you. If it has a built-in audience, use it. If it's a free platform, use it. Don't let your ego get the best of you and think in the big, scheme of things,
Right.
and not utilize what's there for you. So that's another little.
And it's a really good piece of nugget because, thinking of YouTube, which is just me now, you think there's so many different people on YouTube and you might just assume it's not for you. Not really understanding the whole platform. It is whatever you make it.
It
Like you
really
said,
is.
it's so diverse.
Mhm.
Of course, you can talk or, you present on any topic because that's what YouTube is for.
Exactly. And you will find your audience. You have to be patient, and you will find your audience. Your audience will find you. So as an entrepreneur, another thing to do is try to find other streams of revenue. So going back to my BET days, I did a Udemy course because people want to learn. So I take people through my Udemy course, how to get it out of your head and put the pilot on paper. So everything that I learned, I put it on paper so that it could be a cheat sheet for somebody who has a television idea. Well, how do I get it started? Well, here's some of the things you should think about, and here's some of the elements. So it's a very plug and play to kind of help you get there. So that is another stream of income for me. I put it out on Udemy. It's been out there. I don't even think about it. Every now and then I see a payment in my PayPal. Somebody took your course, and there it is, it's in my PayPal.
Awesome.
Now I can use that money to re-up on something creative that I want to produce. So I would say that to any entrepreneur, if you could think of extra income, extra, different revenues, different streams of revenues, try to think as many as you can, because at the end of the day, you're going to be your only investor for a long time.
Right.
A lot of entrepreneurs think that they could just go out and get investors. You're going to be your only investor for a long time because you have to prove it, not just to yourself, but you have to prove that whatever it is that you're doing works. If you're looking for an investor.
Right.
So I'm just thinking about those entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah. And what I also like to touch on, what I also liked about what you said is your why you started your own business. That, you looked around and it was, no, a lot of older white dudes or whatever it might have been. And that is so, I never talked about it even on my podcast, but that's one of the reasons as well, what affected me and my, as a salaried worker, always walking into these meetings and it's all these guys. That's one of the reasons why I left my last job. It was still a good old guys club for no reason. Like it should be that way today, but we don't have to put up with it. You can, if you have it within you. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do things my way, but also like I struggled in the beginning when I started my business. Like my email is Michelle @ no last name. From in my industry, we always first name dot last name. No, this is my business. I'm gonna do it my way. It's Michelle @ like we don't have to have all that. It's not the old days. We can build our business the way we see fit, as long as it still fits the standards of your industry, of course.
Exactly.
So I like that you said that because I had that issue. Oh, I still do since I do work still, walking into these rooms. First of all, everybody is mostly guys. I have a lot of females because it's a totally different podcast topic. Like if I have a big meeting at my job, I will straighten my hair because I feel like they don't take me serious if it's curly. They just see my curly hair and like, where's she from?
Yeah.
Because my industry, at least on my level, is not very diverse. There is diversity, but it's not very diverse in the meeting rooms. So to take that away, I just straighten my hair.
Wow.
So these older white guys don't have to look at me like, where's she from? She has an accent, her hair's curly, she's from the islands. We don't have to debate all that.
Right.
This meeting is not, I don't want to distract with my curly hair, So I like that you said that because it played into my journey a little bit as well.
Yeah, you have to be the change that you want to see, literally.
Right.
And it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of faith. And you really can't, I would say the first 3 years, just stay so focused on what you're trying to do. Don't look at the measures of success that people on the outside say,
Right.
And another great piece of advice, this is a hindsight that I want to share to help your foresight, is keep a lot of stuff to yourself. When you are building and creating, don't talk to people about it, because you may be so excited. Oh, I'm going to start this, or oh, I'm going to start that, or oh, I'm going to write this, or oh, I'm going to produce this. People who care about you and the people that don't care about you will ask you over and over, well, how's this going? Well, how's that going? And you are already trying to stay focused and stay dedicated and courageous on what you're trying to do. You don't need that extra pressure from other people, even the ones that care. They're only asking because you told them.
Right.
So they're just as excited as you. So they're asking out of excitement. But after a while, it gets annoying, because if you hit a roadblock or an obstacle, and if they ask you during that time, it's just going to make you blow up. It's going to make you insane and crazy. And then
I
the
know the
haters,
feeling.
yeah, and then the haters, they're going to do the same thing, because they know, they'll ask you very condescending, well, remember you said you was going to start that, whatever it
Right.
was. Well, it's been almost a year. When you going to start it?
Right.
So the best piece of advice is to do things in silence. Just get it out of the head, put it on
Put
paper,
it on paper.
think about the maintenance of it. How long is this going to take? Okay, for instance, you start a website. Okay, what's going to be on the website? Okay, you want 10 things. Well, who's going to put those 10 things up? And is there going to be a schedule? Is it weekly? Well, who's going to weekly put those 10 things up? So you got to think about all of that maintenance,
Right.
because that's what's going to keep it going. So this was a lesson I had to learn so hard, because I like to create and I like to start things all the time. And it's okay
Mhm.
to plant seeds. You can plant your seeds and then come back and grow it. But it's really, really smart to think of one thing and do that one thing very well and be known for that. So this YouTube channel that I started is called Miss Charlotte Burley, and I talk about our issues, because we all have issues, but how we deal with it, that's the difference.
Right.
And I grew up where a lot of times people just swept their issues under the rug, and I would watch people just rot and just can't, their issue will deal with them because they didn't deal with their issue.
Right.
So they would just, and it's all simple to just deal with your issue. It may hurt. It may be time consuming. You might need to get, professional help. But as soon as you deal with it and it's over, it's such a relief. Your health, your mind, everything is better. You can grow, you can be more successful, and then you can win. But if you keep that issue just hanging and dangling around, it just weighs you down. So I knew that when I started my YouTube channel that it was not going to be popular, because people do not like to talk about their issues.
True.
And people don't even like to even hear about issues, because then it makes them think about their own, and so comedy does very well, or, self-help stuff does very well, but slowly but surely, people are starting to come to listen to the issues, because they're realizing that I'm not judging them. I'm sharing hindsight. I'm sharing just raw truth. And for me, that's what it's all about. Now, going back to the entrepreneurship, you could do merchandise on YouTube. I decided to do merchandise as for my age, because who joins YouTube at 50?
Okay. Right.
But I still feel young. I still feel, great. And I don't feel that 50 is old. I just feel 50 is seasoned, and I'm seasoned by the spices of life. So I started my seasoned teas, and I
Which I
did that.
love, by the way.
Thank you. And I started that as another stream of income. But now I have to focus on maintaining it. Okay, I started it. Now it's time for me to do promos and promotion, because if people don't know about you and if they don't know about your business, how will they know? So that's the other piece of advice. You have to promote, promote, promote until you feel like you are sick of yourself.
Okay.
Because you got to realize people go on YouTube and they're looking for one thing. So they may see your first promotion, but if you don't promote again and again, they may miss you. Now, some people may see you all the time because they're subscribed to you, but you got to think about the millions that don't know you're out there. So you have to promote, promote, promote. And if you think about any of the big brands, all they do is promote.
Right. So we just keep recognizing and thinking about them. True.
Yeah. So, and don't think with promotion that you have to have money. Get you some really good people that believe in you. Ask them to share your videos, ask them to talk about your stuff, ask them to introduce you to other people and have them to do it. Don't always think of money. Just try to think of outside of the box. Who can be your model? And this is the last piece of advice that I would love to give to anybody who's doing any kind of product or merchandise. When you launch that, already have it in your budget how many things you're going to give away. You have to give things away. And I'll give you a perfect story that just happened. So this gentleman opened up Nick the Greek. It's a restaurant. He came to our job. I work at Porsche. I'm the creative director over at Porsche, Woodland Hills. And he handed out coupons. It was a free lunch. He handed out at least 200 free coupons.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for his grand opening. The line was outside and around the corner. We all went in, we ate. The food was delicious. So the next day, the next couple of weeks, you saw the same people now paying for the food. I think I done been in there, shameless plug right now, too many times because it's Greek, and the
I
food
love
is
food.
fresh and it's delicious. And now I'm in there maybe 3 days a week.
Okay.
So, but I would have not known had he just opened up and been selfish, and didn't give anything. I probably would have walked by and just applied, maybe tried it once or twice, maybe, or maybe I would just walked by and just went to my regular,
Right.
spot. But because he was very confident in his product, he let us all taste it for free because he knew that we would come back. So you have to be that confident in your product and know that you have to give away so much. You don't have to give away 200 if you don't have a restaurant. But like with my t-shirts, I give away my t-shirts to the right people. Have a contest, give it to people so that they can be your walking billboard, but they're walking billboards that support you. Give that away. I know there's some entrepreneurs that, you try to tell them to put their products in gift bags, and the first thing they say is, well, it costs me this much. I don't have any for free. Okay, well, you want free advertising. So how do you get free advertising? That means you have to give away something for free. So if you don't have that mindset to already understand that you have to give books away, if you write a book, you have to give so many books away. If you do an album, you have to give so many, streams away. You have to give things away as free promotion. And if you don't want to give things away, then you're going to wind up paying for promotion.
Right.
So that's up to you as well.
Okay. You gave us a lot of good tips.
Good.
Really. About writing down your goals, which you are not the first one on the podcast to speak on. So it's a theme throughout entrepreneurship, which just makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You have to visualize what you're working on.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And even if you're not ready, journaling is a very good thing because journaling becomes your receipt. It really does. If you write something down in 2019, I want to start this t-shirt line. And then in 2021, you launch it, but then you go back and you read what you wrote in 2019. That's your own proof that you have it in you, that when you set out to do something, you can do it. But if you didn't write it down, you might have forgot that you thought about it 2 years ago. So always keep a journal with your thoughts and put that down for your journey. And as you're going through your journey, the ups and downs, the headaches that you're going through, even with your podcast, like technical issues.
Right.
You know, like this day I had technical issues. What was so different about it? Because then when you have a great day, you can go back and be like, I remember I was struggling and now I've overcome, that, so.
Makes sense, because I sure do not write down my struggles.
Write down the struggle so you can celebrate your wins.
Right. No, it makes sense. And it goes hand in hand a little bit with your YouTube channel as well, with your YouTube, talking about issues, not just sugarcoating things.
Yeah, no sugarcoating. If you come to my platform, it's real. And I always have to remind everyone that I'm not judging you because I don't even know you. I can't even
But we'll
see.
all go through it, right? So we should talk about it.
Something. Yeah, we all go through it. So I feel like if whatever, I talk about every issue, love, life, sex, relationships, whatever issue that I'm just thinking about, or I've been through, or I hear about something, or it's popular in the news, I like to talk about it from a real non-celebrity, real person, because yeah, other people could talk about it, celebrities could talk about it, but if you're not a celebrity, you can't relate to it the same way. Like this pandemic is not hurting the rich. The rich are still buying Porsches 2 and 3.
You would know.
They're still out here buying. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
So we can't deal with our issues the same way they deal with theirs. So I think about us, non-celebrity, real average working people who have dreams, who have goals, who want the same things. We want to be successful, but we got to deal with our ish. We have to be accountable and we have to be more aware, because a lot of times I realize a lot of people aren't aware of things. And so you have to just bring it to their attention. It's also about awareness. When you're not aware of your ish, then that's another blind sight, it's another blind spot. So I really enjoy what I do. And that's the other piece of advice that I know everybody has heard. You really want to start a business in something that you really love and you're really passionate about it, because you may not get paid for years.
Right.
Your passion and your love for it is part of your pay.
That's why it cannot be all about money, just about money, because you might not make any for a while, so that makes sense.
And it can't be about fame either.
Yeah.
If it's just all about fame, then you already know what they like. They want some tomfoolery. They want you to act up. They want you to be negative for the most part.
Right.
You have to, if you just want fame, then all you have to do is follow whoever you really like and just do everything they do to the letter and hope that some of that spill over into you. But if you really just love what you do and you're passionate about it, that will help you to get through the bad days.
Right. And another thing I took away from what you told us is, when you set your goals and maintain them, that it takes time. And that you said you struggled with that a little bit sometimes, because you have ideas, you want to put them, in motion. Like your example with the t-shirt, you wrote it down. I mean, not you specifically, it was just an example, but it could happen. You write it down in 2019 as a goal, and in 2021 it happens. That's 2 years, but it's okay.
Yep.
We always, a lot of us, we want this instant, right now. It's happening. I want it. I got the idea. It should work. But things take time.
Yep.
Building a website takes time.
Yep.
They make it seem so easy. We do have to go daddies of the world and you plug and paste and do. Yes, but it still takes time. Especially if you have to set it up and you've never done it before and you want certain pictures and it's not moving that way. Everything takes time.
Everything takes time.
Building a newsletter, your followership, it takes time. Your LLC, everything takes time.
Everything takes time.
So that's what I took away a little bit from what you said earlier. You would get frustrated sometimes because I'm the same way. But building relationships with your audience, with your everything takes time. Even if we have the greatest idea in the world.
Yep.
Like you said, we're not celebrities. We cannot just go on our Instagram posted and, 60 million or even 500,000 people are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what Michelle is up to.
And people forget that celebrities didn't just happen. If you listen to every celebrity story, they will tell you, even recently with Tabitha Brown, she told you 22 years.
Right.
People just now finding out about her the last 3 years. And look at her success. Look at all the seeds that she planted and they're finally blooming. But 22 years ain't no joke.
No. That's commitment.
Some people who just found her, they just think, oh, she's been like that for no. She had to grow. So just like us, we have to grow. We have to take our time.
Right.
So now there are some lucky people, your podcast might blow up like that. There might be a lot of people. Yeah, there might be a lot of people who need this advice and is looking, because of the pandemic, a lot of people are looking to be more, entrepreneurial because they don't want to go back to the workplace.
You have learned you cannot trust the workplace either. It's not promised.
Yeah.
Just because you had a job today doesn't mean you're going to have it tomorrow. That's one of my whys, because I don't know if you remember, I was unemployed for a while.
Yeah.
I had a, sheriff's sale on my house because I went into foreclosure. So that taught me I can really only depend on myself.
Exactly.
I can be gone like this.
Exactly. So yeah, and then I'll give you some production advice for YouTube. I still don't use it for myself, but it does work. So YouTube and Google is all about a search. So with your channel and your titles, always put what people are searching for. So how to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, how to be an entrepreneur. I want to start an entrepreneur. Those titles in your thing will help people because they're already Googling it, and then it'll help you to come up. So always try to remember that. I'm still working on that with my YouTube channel. I just hit 1,000 subs, which is like the magic number. And it took me a long time to get there because, of course, my ego, I came in still trying to want to do things the way I wanted to do instead of understanding and really learning the YouTube world. And so YouTube does a really great job at informing you. They tell you tips, they give you suggestions. Follow them. I'm learning to, I'm like, oh, follow them, and then it will help you. They're there to help you. They want you to win. But again, that ego, entrepreneurs, creators, we can have that ego. And sometimes we have to tame our ego. Our ego definitely gets us to success, but we have to tame it and let us work the ego. Don't let the ego work you.
True. Yeah. Those are good tips because, I'm brand new to YouTube, so I'm learning everything. I'm also working on my LinkedIn.
Welcome to YouTube.
Thanks. I was on your LinkedIn earlier, and that's something I'm working on because I am in a professional field. I'm not very creative other than this. And I saw that you have 500 plus connections. I'm like, I want 500 plus connections. Because I hear that's like if you have below 500, you're nobody, like.
Okay. But no, it's also the right connections, because if you only have 100 right connections, honey.
That's right.
We'll get caught in the numbers, it's the right people. Like for me, I'm so happy that I have 1,000 subs because that means those are the right people who want to deal with their issues. It's going to take a slow grind. I don't want anybody to come that don't want to learn, that don't want to grow. I don't want that. I don't want a bunch of people just come in just because I said come sub. No, I want you to take something away from it. So it is about quality, not quantity.
Because that's what I'm doing.
Now, some people want the quantity. Yeah, some people want the quantity, and they can turn that quantity into something else, but it depends again on what you're doing. Quantity works for certain types of topics. That's the route you should go. Quality works for other type of topics. And so because I'm dealing with issues and I'm sharing hindsight for the foresight, I want quality, not quantity.
Right. Because we're both kind of building community, exchange,
Exactly.
Let's get together and talk about this.
Exactly.
About issues, you're not alone. Like you said, when you grew up, you saw a lot of people just sitting at home, getting sick from
I,
issues,
yeah,
and we know more these days, or hopefully you would think that, you're not alone with you're not the only one who maybe has whatever they might have going on, right?
yeah, whatever the issue is,
But we're at
you're not
home
the only
thinking it's
one.
just us,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. So you're building your community just like I'm trying to build this entrepreneurship community of, people that maybe still working a 9 to 5 are building, working towards their goals. It's
hmm,
not just about, getting followers, but let's talk about it. What are you doing? That's why it's
yeah,
so awesome to have guests like you that have a little more, information and
yeah,
knowledge to share, because you had a journey.
yeah, yeah. And I think if there's any video that you should share from my thing, it would be your job is your seed investor. Because a lot of us entrepreneurs, sometimes we have to go back into the workplace, and it is what it is. When I was an entrepreneur, a strict, straight entrepreneur, I did it for 6 years. I worked for myself. I had my own thing, but I had one major client and I had some smaller clients. But my one major client was so draining. They were the type of clients that you don't want, clients that are not moving forward. They
Hmm.
just kept going around in circles and circles and never launching. And I'm a goal person. Like, let's reach the goal and let's get to the next step. They could never get to that goal. And I didn't care how much money they was giving me. At some point, we were stuck.
Hmm.
So as an entrepreneur, you're going to have those times where you're going to have to make those choices. So for me to have to quit my clients because they weren't growing, I had to, that was a big lump sum of money. And I wind up having to go back into the workplace. But I went back into the workplace doing something that I love, something that I create, So at my job, I love it because it's a great brand. Porsche is a great brand. The German has made a beautiful car. And then my job is to, you know, do a creative direction to give the clients a wow experience. So I'm still kind of doing my creative in the workplace. But what keeps me sane is I say, that's my seed investor. My pay
Hmm.
check is my seed investor into what else I want to do. So I take that money and I invest and reinvest in my things, like my YouTube channel. So if you still have a job, I don't want you to feel that you're a failure. Just think of your job as your seed investor, because again, you're your only investor. So your job is your seed investor. That's your backup money. And if you could think of it like that, that'll help you go to work and not be so angry.
Right.
You could just say,
You should have talked to me last week because I was a little angry. I had issues.
we all do, and then it's going to be a time and a place where I don't need that seed investor anymore. But until then, be grateful that you have something coming in, because you always
Right.
put it out. You got to have something coming in so that you can put out.
True.
So that's the only other thing I would leave with you. That's a really good video to look at. Your job is your seed investor. For those entrepreneurs who are starting out and still working that 9 to 5, it's a different mentality. So hopefully that video will help you to just get through it.
Awesome. So for parting words, or not even parting words, just what are you working towards right now? You have your
So,
1,000 subscribers to your YouTube.
yep.
So what are your goals that you're
So my goals is to take the YouTube channel community from 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000
oh
to a
wow.
million.
Okay.
So I got to grow that, and I'm going to relaunch the season teas with more fever. I'm going to do more promos. I'm going to put it out there.
Okay.
So I'm going to maintain it. So I've produced a maintenance plan for my YouTube, a maintenance plan for my t-shirt line, and I've saved enough to hire an assistant to help me with the things that I can no longer do or don't want to do,
Right.
and delegate to someone else. So I've gotten to that point. So I've
Awesome.
gotten 1,000 subs all on my own. I've done it all, shooting, editing, marketing, everything. And now I'm like, okay, it needs that extra step and I need to do that. So that's what I'm working on. And I'm working on my retirement plan from Portia so that I can be full-time entrepreneur.
Again,
Yes, again, because I missed it. I really missed it. 6 years
I
was
bet.
awesome. Oh, it was awesome. So I know I've done it before. I could do it again. And but I'll be my own main client this time.
That's awesome. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. You cannot let that ego get in the way, right?
Yes.
So, got to be patient
Yes.
and work towards your goals.
Yes. That ego, we got to run it. Don't let the ego run us.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Charlotte. And
Yes.
of course, I'm going to link all your information, whichever you want to share, so people can find you and buy the t-shirts and, and subscribe to your channel.
That would be awesome. And I'm so proud of you for doing this. I know that you've been working hard and you stepped out on faith and you started your own business. So all of your good works, you're going to reap the benefits, and you're going to be able to eat the food that the seeds that you planted, you're going to be able to eat all of that later.
I cannot wait for us both to be full-time entrepreneurs, and we're going to meet somewhere on the beach and have, a
Yeah,
yummy drink with a little, umbrella in it. Cannot wait.
I cannot wait either. That's going to be sooner than we both think.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
If you
cool.
need any other YouTube help, you can always hit me offline. If I know something, if I think of something, I'll help you out. But YouTube is really good at helping you out. They give you those monthly newsletters. I just say read those and really follow the advice that they give you.
Oh, well, I will do that.
Okay.
Well, thanks so much. And
You're welcome.